Decades ago, a devoted mother, Amy Pitson, vanished under circumstances that would shock her community and leave investigators grappling with contradictions. Known as a loving mother, Amy's past included troubled relationships and mental health struggles, creating a puzzle that would perplex authorities for years. In Aurora, Illinois, Amy's life seemed ordinary on the surface. Her routines, her interactions with neighbors, and her care for her son Timothy painted a picture of stability. Yet, behind closed doors, tensions and challenges created a complex portrait, a mother fiercely protective of her child, but wrestling with inner turmoil. On the day of her disappearance, Amy left her home with Timothy, reportedly planning an outing to local sites such as the Green Man Elementary School, Brookfield Zoo, and later, recreational destinations like the Great Wolf Lodge and Wisconsin Dells. Witnesses recalled seeing the pair at different intervals, yet by the evening, both mother and son had vanished, sparking immediate concern and a frantic search. Authorities combed the area, uncovering ambiguous evidence, traces of blood in a car, residues along a nearby creek, and conflicting accounts from friends and family. Among these clues, a note attributed to Amy suggested that Timothy was safe, placed in a secure location, raising more questions than answers. Was this a tragic miscalculation, a desperate protective act, or something else entirely? The case drew attention to the possibility that Amy had left her son with a religious institution, specifically linked to Mormon communities, a theory that remains controversial and unconfirmed. Investigators, while meticulously reviewing her movements, could not reconcile the motherly persona with the complexity of her actions and the subsequent disappearance of her child. Amy's disappearance challenged conventional logic. Here was a woman capable of planning, of loving, yet caught in circumstances that defied understanding. Each step in the investigation revealed contradictions, sightings that didn't match timelines, evidence that appeared deliberate yet ambiguous, and a community struggling to reconcile its perception of Amy with the harsh reality of the case. As time passed, the narrative of Amy and Timothy Pitson became one of enduring mystery. Authorities documented every clue, every lead, and yet definitive answers remained elusive. The story resonates not only as a cautionary tale about familial complexity, but also as an example of how human behavior can defy expectation and confound even the most diligent investigators. From Aurora to the wider reaches of Wisconsin, the search for answers captivated the public, inspiring discussions about maternal instinct, mental health, and the limits of investigative reasoning. The unresolved questions continue to haunt those who followed the case closely, emphasizing that sometimes human actions cannot be neatly categorized or understood. The Campground Crime Narrator. On October 18, 1984, 3.5-year-old Laura Ann Bradbury vanished from her family's campsite at Indian Cove Campground within Joshua Tree National Park, California. The day began innocuously. Laura accompanied her 8-year-old brother to the portable restrooms near their campsite. While he used the facilities, she waited outside, and when he emerged, she was gone. A massive search ensued. Over 250 volunteers scoured the park, including rangers, law enforcement, and civilians. A tracking dog followed what appeared to be her footprints for roughly 3 kilometers before losing the scent. After 3 days, the initial search was suspended, leaving her family in agonizing uncertainty. Witnesses reported a man in his 50s driving a metallic blue van near the campground shortly before Laura disappeared. Similar sightings near Burns Canyon suggested he may have traveled via secondary roads toward Big Bear. Despite these leads, authorities were unable to identify or apprehend any suspect, leaving a haunting question mark over the disappearance. Months later, in March 1986, hikers discovered a skull and other remains near the park's western entrance, just 8 kilometers from the family's campsite. Early DNA tests in 1990 indicated the remains were likely Laura's, but uncertainty lingered until 2010, when new DNA testing conclusively confirmed her identity. No arrests were ever made, and the case remains unsolved. Tragically, while searching for Laura in 1985, Jim Nestor also disappeared. His remains were found 3 years later in February 1988, with the cause of death remaining unknown. It is unclear whether his disappearance was related to Laura's, adding another layer of mystery to the story. Laura's family endured decades of pain and uncertainty. Her mother, Patty, passed away in 2001, while her father, Michael, chronicled the ordeal in his book, Laura Ann Bradbury, A Father's Search, in 2010. The narrative of Laura Bradbury is one of vanished innocence, persistent hope, and the enduring human struggle to comprehend inexplicable loss. The disappearance raises questions about human vulnerability in seemingly safe environments. A family retreat, intended to provide respite, became a site of unsolved tragedy. Witness testimonies, lost trails, and ambiguous sightings illustrate how quickly ordinary settings can transform into scenes of uncertainty and fear. Even decades later, the park's quiet trails carry the memory of Laura's last steps. Her story has inspired countless investigations, media coverage, and discussions around child safety, stranger danger, and the challenges faced in remote search operations. Despite closure through DNA confirmation, the emotional and procedural questions surrounding her disappearance persist. David Blake, the trackerless hiker. David Blake, an experienced and cautious hiker, vanished under circumstances that defy logic and leave investigators with more questions than answers. Known for his meticulous preparation, Blake's disappearance in Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park, Georgia, presents a chilling contradiction. How could someone so careful, so well prepared, simply vanish without leaving a trace? On the day of his disappearance, Blake left his backpack containing essential supplies locked in his car. Friends and family speculated whether he intended a short walk or had another unknown purpose. The absence of his gear became a critical clue, suggesting this hike was unlike any prior experience. Despite favorable weather and well-marked trails, Blake disappeared without a sound, leaving no personal effects, footprints, or witnesses to his movements. Kennesaw Mountain, a site of historical significance during the American Civil War, adds a haunting resonance to the disappearance, with landscapes once marked by conflict now serving as a silent stage for mystery. Authorities launched an extensive search, but findings were minimal. 7 months later, his remains were found far from the main trail, contradicting expectations for an experienced hiker. Discrepancies in official reports fueled speculation about cover-ups or mismanagement. Friends described Blake as disciplined and predictable, yet the circumstances of his disappearance challenged these assumptions. Speculation ranged from accidental falls, sudden disorientation, rare medical events, to possible human interference. The lack of tracks, supplies, or personal items complicated every theory, leaving investigators with a case that resisted resolution. For his family, the unanswered questions magnified grief. Blake's careful habits suggest he would never place himself in danger voluntarily, yet reality defied these expectations. Despite modern investigative methods, the disappearance remains unsolved, a sobering reminder of the unpredictability of wilderness settings. Ultimately, David Blake's story underscores that even the most prepared individuals can vanish under mysterious circumstances. His case serves as a warning and a lasting mystery, emblematic of the fragility of human life and the enduring fascination with the unknown. As we conclude the exploration of America's most disturbing disappearances, Amy and Timothy Pitson, Laura Bradbury, and David Blake, we are reminded of life's fragility, fate's unpredictability, and the compelling allure of unsolved mysteries.